Hello everybody and welcome to the next race review should I say, for the 2023 British Touring Car season. With me is my good friend Ben. Say hello.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to be reviewing rounds 22 to 24 held this past weekend at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. A few things to note. So I was there in person. Ben was obviously not there with me this time, but I was there with a few friends. Such as the Moaning Yorkshireman and someone called Jam Sankith Gaming, as well as a few other friends too. You can find them on YouTube. I'll leave the links to their channels in the description. As always, the playlist for our race reviews will be in the description, as it always is. So I'm going to get into the race weekend first and foremost. Just a quick overview, a few things to point out before we get into qualifying. Firstly, this was the first time that the BTCC has raced at the Grand Prix layout since 2002, when James Thompson was crowned champion for Vauxhall. We had Goodyear celebrate their 125-year history with a retro branding on all the tyres this weekend, so it was nice to see a classic design. It is worth noting that teams have previously tested at the Grand Prix layout due to a tyre test that happened back in July. And the biggest piece of news before qualifying even started was Dan Camish had to sit out the whole weekend after a huge accident that happened in FP1. I will try and provide one or two pictures on screen now. But basically he went off the road. I think it was McLean's corner, I could be wrong, but wasn't a very good moment for him. I think he was going up the hill, put the brake pedal on. The front brakes did not do anything. The rear brakes did their job. The car went in backwards, and I think it was a 35G impact. Smashed the back of the car up and basically just sat out the rest of the weekend. So unlucky for him. He did go fastest in FP1, and apparently the time he set in FP1 would have been quick enough for 6th place on the grid on the Saturday. But yeah, to move into qualifying then, we had a red flag come out after only 10 minutes due to Nick Alstead going into the gravel. Sutton set a fast lap with 10 minutes to go when we did resume, then went quicker still in the dying moments. And in the end, that pole position stuck. He took a storming pole position despite what everyone threw at him. He couldn't be stopped and made sure that Napa Racing held its record of securing pole at every circuit so far this season, so 8 from 8. The pole time was a 1:33.154, with Ingram being just short of 2 tenths back, and Ricky Collard rounding out the top 3 just a little under 4 tenths back in 3rd. Moving into race 1 then. So we saw a terrible start for Sutton as Ingram and Collard jumped him into turn 1, which dropped into 3rd place. Meanwhile, further back we had Morgan make a great start, and Sam Osborne went off the road and destroyed several banners in the process to kick off what was a chaotic wet start to this race. Little lot further down the hill, Sutton did manage to take Collard, and as he was going up the hill, managed to pass him cleanly, going past the bridge where Nigel Mansell famously had his infamous accident back in 1993 during a Toka shootout, I believe it was. Dan Lloyd was then given a 5-second penalty for a false start, so pretty bad start for him for the race day. On lap 2, we saw Ingram and Sutton go head-to-head at the old hairpin, with Sutton diving down the inside to take the lead. This was then followed by Ingram coming back and retaking the lead. However, Sutton prevailed by keeping the inside line and the lead, and took the fastest lap along the way as well. Further back, we saw Dan Rowbottom, Ronan Pearson, Jake Hill, Tom Chilton and Rory Butcher all fighting for position into turn 1 at the start of lap 3. Hill made the most of it, came out on top, with Butcher following this up, trying to get past Butcher himself. Hill then got past Dan Rowbottom into the old hairpin, and Rowbottom did try and hang on to the BMW. Hill tried everything to hang on to position, coming on to lap 4, and did manage to stay ahead. Collard put on a great drive by fending off Colin Turkington. It didn't matter what Turkington could do, he just couldn't get past the Toyota. This continued for a good amount of laps for most of the race between the two. Jake Hill's charge continued as he breezed by Adam Morgan for 7th place on lap 5. Morgan and Butcher went head to head on lap 6, however Watson had other ideas. He managed to get past the Toyota and move himself up into 10th place. Behind Butcher, we then had Tom Chilton on Butcher's tail, which turned into a great little scrap between the two. Lap 7 saw Jake Hill closing on Josh Cook and Aaron Taylor-Smith in front by a second a lap. Meanwhile, Andrew Watson managed to move himself past Morgan to get up into 9th place. Lap 9 and 10 saw Hill make up 2 places in a little less than a lap by taking Cook and then Aaron Taylor-Smith. Sutton, meanwhile, at the front was ahead by over 5 seconds on lap 11, just showing the pace, the pure pace of that Ford. Despite not running any of the hybrid system, Jake Hill moved ahead of Turkington by using a classic switchback move on him and got him before they got into Coppice Corner. 1 lap later, Hill moved past Collard to get up to 3rd. The last lap, though, was one to watch as Hill and Ingram went head to head, and with little left in the tank, Ingram gave everything to defend, and Hill did the same with attacking Ingram. In the end, it was 49 thousandths of a second when they came across the line. Ingram initially finished second on the road, however, after the race officials gave him a half a second time penalty for going off the road and gaining an advantage, and this allowed Hill to move into second and Ingram was back in 3rd. After that, though, here are your race 1 results. So Ash Sutton was your race winner along with the fastest lap, Jake Hill was second with Tom Ingram in 3rd. Ricky Collard was in 4th ahead of Colin Turkington in 5th. Then we had Aaron Taylor-Smith in 6th ahead of Josh Cook in 7th, Dan Rowbottom in 8th with Watson in 9th and Tom Chilton rounding out the top 10. Over to you for race 2, Ben.
Yeah, so for race 2, the weather had calmed down and it was a nice, pretty much dry start. So it was interesting, different weather to a race 1. So Sutton and Hill get a good start, and Hill seemed to get a slightly better start than Hill. Hill and Ingram then all of a sudden level, like pretty much right on Sutton, and then Ingram jumps on the inside, gets past Hill, then Hill gets caught up by Turkington, who's pretty much at this point is right behind him ready as well. So going on to lap 2, Ingram chases down Sutton at this point as Hill starts to drop slightly back while he's sort of defending off Turkington. Moffat is off the road and he sees into the gravel. Luckily he gets it back out of the gravel. It's later shown that Patterson tapped him and this is what sent him into the gravel in the first place. Lap 3, Ingram is right on the back of Sutton at this point and he's getting ready to plan his next attack, but he's sort of ready. Lap 4, Ingram makes a lunge up on the inside at the end of the straight, holds the inside line all the way down, and then he managed to take first. Sutton tries to get it back going up the top of the track, but Hill catches up to him, and at this point he sort of has to defend Hill to stop him, and this causes Sutton to get away from Ingram. Lap 6, the recovery vehicle leaves the pits while it's quiet, and it goes back to across the gravel to where it should be. This is because it had to remove Jack Butel's car that was blocking the pit exit after he'd had a problem on the first lap. On lap 9, Ingram uses one of his 2 hybrid laps. He's got 15 seconds for each of these laps. He used it to gain a lead on Sutton while Sutton's defending Hill. On to lap 10, Darren DeLeon is in the gravel. He's basically just gone off straight at the final corner. It could have been a brake failure, who knows, but this causes a local yellow as he's sort of just out of the way, so it's not a serious issue where he needs to be removed. Lap 13, Morgan's car looks to have had some good scraps. I think it's like the front right is sort of part of the light and a bit of the bodywork is missing, and you look and all of a sudden you see Butcher's car, funnily enough, on his back. Similar sort of stuff's going on there. So clearly they've had a couple of scrapes and bashes of each other and a good old rub. So yeah, this is interesting. And then all of a sudden you see a couple of parts coming off and they have another rub while going up the straight just before the chicane to go onto the GP layout. Last lap, Hill attacks Sutton, but sadly he don't get past. Nothing happens as Ingram managed to cross the line with a nice 2-second lead. Then all of a sudden he's seen a picture. Jade Edwards' car is limping over the line, so at least she managed to complete the race. So your winner from this is Tom Ingram, also with fastest lap. Second is Sutton. Third is Hill. Fourth is Turkington. Fifth is Cook. 6th is Collard, 7th is Rowbottom, 8th is Butcher, 9th is Morgan, 10th is Darren Taylor-Smith. Over to you, Brad, for race 3.
Thanks, Ben. So, on to race 3 then, and we saw Dan Lloyd get put onto pole position. Pretty much for the way race 3 kicked off, it was a dry race, so it was nice to see after having a bit of a wet and then dry, and yeah, they was a bit iggledy-piggledy, but hey-ho, that's the weather of the north. So race 3 saw a great start by Dan Lloyd to lead the pack away. Further back, we saw the top 4 in the championship all scrapping for places. Tom Chilton was immediately presented with a 5-second time penalty due to a false start. Lap 2 saw Sutton try and get ahead of Turkington, but allowed Ingram to squeeze on by to move up into 11th place. Ronan Pearson was then spotted with his bonnet open, meaning he had to come into the pits to get it repaired, because you get a black and orange flag for that, meaning you have to come in the pits, for those that don't know. Lap 3 saw Sutton try and get back past Ingram. Meanwhile, further forward, we saw Hill, Cook and Turkington all scrapping for position, with Rowbottom at the helm of it all. Ingram went up against Cook, and by Cook defending his position hard enough, it allowed Sutton to slip by into the bottom of the hill near the old bridge. We then saw a bit further on lap 4, that Aaron Taylor-Smith managed to dive up the inside of Chilton for second, and in doing so, open the door for Butcher to slip by and make his way up into 3rd place. Butcher didn't stop there though, as he went around the outside of the Vauxhall on lap 5 to move himself up into 2nd place. Pretty good racing from them two out front. Josh Cook was out on lap 6 with engine problems. On the same lap as everyone came into the chicane complex, we saw Jake Hill smash through the side of a tyre barrier and took a chunk out of his car. On the following lap, due to the amount of debris on the track, we saw the safety car come out. Once the safety car came back in a lap later, Dan Lloyd had to defend hard against the Toyota of Butcher, as the car was on rails. Lap 11 saw Morgan get past Chilton for 4th place. One lap later, we saw Rowbottom put an aggressive move on Chilton, with Collard also slipping by the Hyundai too. However, this came to fruition as Robo hit the tyre barrier coming into the chicane and dropped down the order pretty quickly. Whilst all this was going on, so this is where it gets exciting, Sutton managed to get himself ahead of Turkington and Hill into the old hairpin, which came from nowhere, as up until then, Sutton was having a quiet race behind Ingram. Things got worse for Rowbottom as he had a puncture, and on lap 13 into turn 1, couldn't make the corner, which forced Ingram wide, but crucially let Sutton take him, as in Rowbottom, as well as Ingram in one quick swoop. Later in the lap, we saw Jelly try and make a move on Hill into the chicane, but Hill had defended hard against position and pushed Jelly wide, which forced him to cut the chicane and drop behind Osborne in the process. Sutton managed to move past Chilton for 6th, however Turkington went with him and tried to battle Sutton for the position, but in the end it was Sutton who came out on top in that particular battle. Coming on to the last lap, it was looking like Dan Lloyd to take the victory, but disaster struck as Lloyd went wide due to broken suspension and went out into the gravel and was out with half a lap to go. Butcher held on to take his first victory with Toyota, with Toyota taking their first overall win of the year. Aaron Taylor-Smith got onto the podium for the first time in 7 years, with Adam Morgan rounding out the podium. So your race 3 results are as follows. Rory Butcher was your race winner, with Aaron Taylor-Smith in 2nd and Adam Morgan in 3rd. Then we saw Ricky Collard in 4th, with Sutton in 5th, Turkington 6th, Ingram in 7th, Hill in 8th, Sam Osborne in 9th, and Stephen Jelly rounding out the top 10. The fastest lap of the race went to Ronan Pearson back in 15th place, who put on a great drive this race after pitting very early on. So big congratulations to him and well done for getting your first fastest lap. So what does it do to the driver's standings? Well, Sutton's lead is now 42 points. It's bigger than it was coming into the weekend, with Ingram back on 320 in 2nd and Hill in 3rd on 300. Then we had Turkington 4th, who's now mathematically out of the title running on 263, with Camish in 5th still, despite not racing at all this weekend, with 220. Cook has closed right in on him though, being only 9 points behind in 6th. Then we've got Ricky Collard ahead of Dan Rowbottom, with Adam Morgan and Rory Butcher rounding out the top 10. So Ben, who do you think are the winners from this weekend?
It's a hard one this weekend because I would have loved to have said Mr. Lloyd. Like would have been brilliant, but I can't class him as a winner because, well, he lost it all with no fault of his own. So that's quite a sad point for me, really. Like, it was just literally on the last lap, pretty much there. What was it? Probably like 5 or 6 corners left. Like there wasn't much left, really. It was just a load of bits where he would have had it in the bag. So I can't say that as much as I would wanted to. I'd probably say Ingram, because he did quite well in race 2. Sutton, because, well, he's just on fire with that car. And that would sort of be it for me, really. I'd say, like, the track itself was brilliant. Like, other than please, it's back. So I'd class that as a winner for all the fans, including myself. It's nice it's back. Some extra to add to the calendar. And I'd say that, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think the weather definitely played its part in terms of the racing. But yeah, the circuit is definitely a big one. I can agree with that one. For me personally, I do agree with Dan Lloyd, although it's more of a sad point than anything else. But I think he did really well in the last race, so I'm going to give him as a winner here. Because even when Butcher was pushing him like crazy in the third race, he did really well on the safety car restart. He led away. He was really in control of that race. Again, it was out of his control that the car had broke and everything like that. So I do feel sorry for him and absolutely gutted for him because, I mean, he said it himself. He was absolutely gutted and had no words. So, yeah, big mention goes out to Dan Lloyd there. For me personally, I actually have 3 other than Dan Lloyd. I've got Aaron Taylor-Smith, who I think, despite being on the podium in the last race, did really well. He had a strong showing in the Vauxhall this weekend. I personally also think that Ronan Pearson, again, despite the bad luck he had in race 3, did a really good job this weekend. Granted, he wasn't right up there, but I think that he did pretty well, all things considered. And we did see him do really well back in April when we raced the national circuit. One of the big ones, though, for me, 100%, was Ricky Collard. Granted, he didn't get a podium, which it was, again, really infuriating because I know he wants to get a podium outright without being gifted him at all. But I think despite that, he did really well. I mean, he got a good chunk of points in the Drivers' Championship. He's overtook Rowbottom for 7th. So he's done, in my opinion, done really, really well. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap this one up here. Let us know what your thoughts were on this weekend's racing at the Grand Prix circuit. Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? Were you there? If you were, let us know down in the comment section below, as always. Many thanks for all your continued support on the race reviews that we continue to do here over on the channel, and many thanks for everyone that has tuned in and listened to us. And yeah, we will be back in a month's time for the Silverstone National Circuit. And yeah, may the Donington Park Grand Prix stick with us for many more years to come. If it's going to give us more of this kind of racing, I'm all for it. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a great night. And until next time, we'll catch you all for the next race review in a month's time at Silverstone. So until then, thanks for watching. And of course, as always, ta-ra.
Bye.